Well, I just got the prompt for the recording, so welcome everyone. We're getting towards the tail end of what we had scheduled out for our monthly Matt Chats webinar. Thanks for joining. Today's topic is something that I'm pretty excited about talking about. It's something that I like to help people with. If you're kind of thinking about using the API or getting introduced to it, and so on today's talk, I was going to go through a couple of examples of how to use the API that sort of scratch the surface in terms of how powerful it is and what you can do with it to help you with your workflow if you're working in Content Controller a lot. If you haven't met me, or maybe this is one of your first one of these, my name is Matt Byrd. I'm a customer support specialist here at Rusticy Software. I've been here for just over 3 years, and primarily specialize in just supporting the content controller application alongside Michael Reinhardt and the Donnelly brothers. Um, and I'm super happy to have Michael, having been working with us for the last several months here. It's nice to have a second and third set of eyes on things. And so if you're working with content controller, you likely have talked to him in the past. And so he's been such a welcome addition to the support team here. And then a little bit more about me. Kind of got the obligatory family photo here for Christmas cards that was taken like last weekend. Um, yeah, we are getting into that time, so really from my family to y'all's and everyone here, really wishing you a safe and happy holiday season, and as stress free as it could possibly get. But we had our second child, our daughter Cece, in October. She's just over 2 months old now. And then a little boy named Michael, who's a 2-year-old. And when I'm not working, they're keeping me busy. Um, no, I've been enjoying being a parent lately. It's been a different kind of adventure than what I'm used to. But kind of getting back into things. Um, this is going to be a little bit different uh, demo. It's not maybe quite as visual. I'm going to go through a couple of examples of ways that you can use the API. Here you see it listed as like your streamlining. It's easy for me to say streamlining your workflow by automating repetitive tasks. And so when we're introducing people to Content Controller, or we're walking them through getting started with it, a lot of times what I'll encourage them to do is if you get into Content Controller and work with it, maybe every day you're in there or once a week, several times a month, as you're in there working and doing certain things, getting things done, um, try to take note of what you're doing in there that might be becoming repetitive, tedious even. If you're kind of clicking on the same things and typing in a bunch of stuff and then constantly sharing content, clicking on the same buttons, there may be an opportunity for the API to help you automate out some of that workflow. The way at a high level that I like to describe the API is it's kind of a set of tools or endpoints that you can use to do just about anything with a few key exceptions that you can do within the Content Controller UI programmatically. So if you have scripting resources or ways to programmatically hit those endpoints, then you can really help save yourself some time and some clicks by automating away some of those repetitive or tedious tasks that you're doing in there. And I'm hoping that today's example kind of helps demystify or illustrate that a little bit. So I've got an example today. So that second bullet point says how to import courses, create accounts, assign content, and generate dispatch packages. I wrote a script a while back that I've been kind of tinkering with lately that I hope works. It's what you get. It gets a little dicey when you get into demos. But this does those things automatically. So basically, I've got a set of courses that I'm going to import into my Content Controller instance. I've got 3 accounts that I've designated to share those courses with. And then I want to generate dispatch packages that are going to be uploaded or delivered to my customer to then be uploaded to their LMS for learners to start accessing the content. So I've got an example that kind of does that in an automated fashion. And I'd kind of want to try to illustrate the difference between maybe doing it the old way through the UI versus what you would do programmatically and maybe how much time it can save you. Um, so looking ahead a little bit more, we're like I said earlier, we're getting getting kind of to the tail end of the Matt Chats webinar topics. So in the new year, after the holidays, we'll talk about some of the newer features that are available to you if you're running Content Controller 4.0 through lead-in pages and webhooks. I'll give like a brief overview and maybe an example of how those work. Webhooks work really, really well in conjunction with the API. So maybe if you're already using the API and you don't know much about webhooks, definitely tune into that one. And then if we're kind of trying to determine if we should keep going with this, if there's other maybe um, more direct talks or more tailored talks to topics that you guys want to see covered, more advanced topics, things like custom launch data, um, using LTI, the LTI standard, and deep linking with LMSs that support those, using Content Controller Launcher, and then maybe more on kind of a Joe Donnelly-esque type topic on course troubleshooting, if that's something that you run into from time to time. So feel free to post in the chat if you have any ideas for future topics or something that you might like to go over with us or see featured here. And then obviously at any time, we're always going to encourage you to reach out to us at support@rusticysoftware.com. So if any of this that I'm talking about today inspires ideas, or maybe we want to think about something, do feel free to please reach out to us. Um, Again, here's a list of resources. I believe some folks that we have behind the scenes may be posting some additional documentation and resources in the chat. I know I was seeing Michael Reinhardt's praises earlier. I've got him kind of lurking behind the scenes to help with questions towards the end, as well as our marketing team. So we can help provide resources, excuse me, that are tailored more toward the API as well. Um, and then again, I'm going to try to leave aside about 5 minutes or so, depending on how much I'm able to get through here for questions. This is to more or less to keep me on topic too. So if you run into questions or if anything I'm covering inspires them, do feel free to ask in the chat, and we'll try to address them towards the end. And then again, always feel free to reach out to us at any time if maybe you think of something later. So now I'm going to kind of transition into the demo portion of this. And like I was saying earlier, this is a little bit, this is maybe an unorthodox demo. I'm going to be running a script that I wrote a while back that automates certain tasks, and I'm going to try to walk through those tasks and what that looks like. So bear with me here for just a second. You can see I've got kind of my screen split between Content Controller and my terminal window, as well as a couple of folders that I'll be using on my desktop. And so I actually need to make sure that I clear out this folder if it will open for me, because this will cause issues. Something that I forgot to do in preparation. Sorry about that. So what this does is you can see in Content Controller, I'm landed in my content section. All I have is just a bunch of folders sitting here, and then I already have a number of accounts that have been predefined. Those accounts, let's say, for example, I have learners in flight. And so we're already in production, we're working, and we've kind of come up with this bright idea to use the API to automate away one of these tasks. And so I'm going to try to illustrate the difference between what that looks like in terms of what you're doing through the UI versus doing this programmatically through a script. So the example that I'm using here is I've got a new folder. I've named it API demo, and it's got some sports related courses in it. So here you can see there's 4 of them: a basketball course, a golf course, a rugby course, and a tennis course. My task is to get these courses into my Content Controller instance. I've got 3 accounts that I know need these courses. They've ordered them. My customers want them. They're chomping at the bit for me to deliver them. So the next part of that task is to go ahead and share those from my content section to my accounts that need them. And there's 3 of those accounts. At that stage, the next step is to generate dispatch packages for them, so that I can deliver them to my clients, so that they can upload them to my third-party LMS and get them in front of learners. If we're going through the UI to do this, I'm clicking on add at least 4 different times. Maybe I'm testing my content before I'm sharing it, and then I'm actually coming in either to these accounts, to their content section. So you can see API account 1 has some already predefined courses sitting here. Maybe these have learner traffic associated with them. I'm either clicking on add from this point, or I'm selecting the course out of my global content pool and sharing it that way to the 3 accounts that need them. At that point, once they get shared, I need to navigate into the accounts content section, select the courses that I want to generate dispatch packages for, and click on share and then choose my standard. Today I'll be using SCORM 1.2 as a dispatch standard. Each of these courses is a SCORM 2004 3rd edition course. And a quick spoiler alert, for full transparency, it's actually just the same course, it's just titled differently to try to help illustrate this. So you can see that could take you a while potentially. And then if you're targeting more and more accounts, or let's say you have way more than 3 accounts that you need to do this for, you could see how time spent working on this could sort of quickly add up. So what I did was I wrote a script to help handle this. And I'm using several of these endpoints that were listed out. This is our API documentation page. And when I say or when I talk about an endpoint, each of these little line items is an endpoint that you can hit. You can send a GET request to this one, or you can send a POST request to do things like creating a new account or pulling information about an account. There's lots and lots that you can do with the API depending on what your use case is. And we try to account for just about everything that you can do in the UI. So what the script does is it utilizes certain endpoints for importing content into my library, then sharing that content with an account, saving certain information about that content so that I can hit it, and I can use it in other API calls to generate dispatch packages for it. And so in thinking of like a real world scenario, maybe I'm saving up to about 5 or 10 minutes here with the way that this works. So in my account section, I've got API account 1, 2, and 3. These are my target accounts. These are the folks that have ordered these 4 new sports courses, and I need to go ahead and get them shared. So I wrote a script, like I said, a little while ago, and I will, if I can figure out how to pull open my VS Code here. This is it. I wrote it in Python. That's the programming language I'm the most familiar with. But I'm generating an access token, and I'm then going through and defining the accounts that I want to use. I'm uploading the course packages, and then I'm actually generating the dispatch packages. And what's cool about this is when I'm generating a dispatch package, if I'm using the API, I have more power over where those dispatch packages go and what I'm naming them. If you're using the UI, we kind of hold you to a certain naming convention for what the dispatch packages, those output zips for those proxy packages are called. If you're using the API and you know the names of the courses and things like that, you can actually maybe more intuitively name them and organize them the way that you want to, whatever works best for your delivery mechanisms. So without further ado, I'm going to run through this script and then kind of highlight where it worked out. So I've got kind of a target folder that I just emptied out a minute ago from a past run of this called dispatches, and it's gonna create a folder for each account, and it's gonna dump the dispatch packages in there once it runs. And so this is the scary bit. I'm in my scripts directory where my Python script lives, so I'm just gonna type a quick command. If I can spell matchats1.py, and it should output here what it's doing. So it's uploaded the golf course to my global content pool and shared it with account 1 and generated a dispatch package for it. It also did it for accounts 2 and 3 and generated those dispatch packages. This is all happening in code behind the scenes, and this is just sort of an example of the computer doing this work for you. Now it's working on basketball. It's doing all those things as well. Uploading it to my global content pool, sharing it with the designated accounts, and generating dispatch packages for it. Same thing with tennis. And then ultimately, I can't remember what I called the 4th course. We'll see here in a minute. Rugby, that's right. So we're finishing up here. I should have included like a hi message or something silly in here. But there, I've got my command prompt back, which means the script has exited and run successfully. So now kind of this is where the magic happens, so to speak. I'll minimize that and I'll refresh my content controller instance. And there's my 4 courses. I didn't specify a target folder or directory. You can absolutely do that with the post request to upload content, you can specify, I think it's called the location property, what folder you want it to live in. So if you have organizational needs at the content level, the API can help you with that. For this demo, I just did it through the home or the root account. So basketball, tennis, rugby, and golf all got uploaded. And then if I were to navigate to my 3 target accounts, let's go to one of those. There's basketball, golf, rugby, and tennis. And these are the courses that were here earlier. The same thing with API account 3, basketball, golf, rugby, and tennis. So it went through that sharing process rather quickly. And now if I were to check my dispatch is folder, let me bring this over. Here's what I named my directories. So I put all those dispatch packages in these folders that pertain to the account name. So here you can see API account 2, and I also named the dispatch package according to what the course was titled. So just basketball. I think our default naming convention is something like the course title underscore account name underscore standard. These are all SCORM 1.2 dispatch packages, and they're ready for consumption by a third-party LMS. So again, this is just kind of a quick example of running through that process. Um, and really, I think kind of where the headache may lie, or where it gets really competitive, is actually selecting these things and clicking on share. And if you're generating a zip of zips, it's a multi-select. Let me just do this one and this one. And you can click on share, and that's going to be a parent zip package with all of the sub zip packages in it. But if I'm working with 3 accounts, I've got to do this 3 times in the UI. And then that script took what, maybe 30 seconds to run, and it kind of automated away some of that work for you. And so all that's to say is that I'm, really, I've been, and from a support perspective, I've been trying to keep my ear to the ground, and we all have, for opportunities to help you do these things. So if this inspires any ideas, again, do feel free to reach out to us. Ask us questions if you're thinking about getting started with it. This is just kind of a quick example of what the API can do. Now, I do have another example that's kind of pre-canned, and this is for something that I've helped people with in the past. This is particularly useful. A lot of in our API library, if you look at all of our endpoints, there's a lot of GET requests here. And if you've got a really, really large content controller library, let's say you have a getting pretty big pretty quickly content section with lots of folders, lots of subfolders, things like that. And then maybe your accounts content library is getting the same way, where you're kind of like, hey, maybe I should take a step back and let's actually see what I have in my account content list. There's a GET request for that. So in this example, what I do is I take a GET request. I'm going to say for this API account example, I'm going to look at its content library. Here you can see I have lots of folders and lots of other courses in these folders. Maybe these folders have subfolders, and I want to get a quick look, maybe in spreadsheet format, of what my library looks like. How much content do I have in there? Where does it live? Is it enabled or not? Have I deactivated certain things? Um, the API can help you kind of generate maybe a more condensed response that contains that sort of information. And so I tried to exemplify that through another kind of example script that I wrote that takes the output of that JSON response, which is what you get back from the API. It converts it to a CSV or a spreadsheet, and then it does another fancy little thing where it adds in another column header that has a dispatch link to one of your courses. So if I go into the sports course, again, if you've seen sharing things, I can choose to either download a SCORM 1.2 package, which is what I kind of illustrate in my demos, and what I did during the script run. So those proxy package got generated automatically, or I can copy a link to it. What this script does is it adds a column next to each record for the course object, and it throws in the dispatch link right next to there. So this is kind of cool if maybe you're working with a client that likes working with spreadsheets and they want to maybe pick and choose what content items from their library that they want to download and upload to their or pull down from you and then upload to their LMS. So I will run this script really quick. Let me clear out all my logging here, and I'll just run Python. I cannot spell today. Python 3 um, Matt chats underscore 2 dot py. And this is targeting this account. So it's account ID 310. And it should generate a spreadsheet for me. It's processing and then it exited. So let me go grab that spreadsheet and pull it open so I can show you what it looks like. Bear with me 1 second here. There it is. I will pull it open in Excel. I have everything opening in the wrong window for some reason. But here is a list of, if I can, let me make it a little bit bigger. Everything in this account's enabled. Here's a list of all of my content items that are inside that account. So let's say I want to get, I want to kind of narrow down on what's in here. I want to see what's in the sports courses folder. And this works well if you've got, I mean, you can see how this might be helpful if you've got a really large library. So I only want to see, again, what's in my sports courses folder. I've got golf, tennis, wakeboarding, water polo, and intro to sport fishing. Here's where it lives under that location property. Um, Everything's enabled. And then here are my dispatch links. So I could deliver something like this potentially to a client, have them click on that link and pick and choose which of these courses they want to generate dispatch packages for. Again, these links by default are only good for 14 days. We can make that more lenient or more strict for you if you have a need for that. But if I were to click on one of these, let me actually just pull this out, throw it into a browser window, and there's my dispatch package. And so it's a good way to kind of illustrate maybe using the API as a separate organizational tool, or getting a snapshot of what's in your content controller instance. It's particularly for accounts that have gotten very large. You've got lots of folders, you've got lots of things going on. And I also want to kind of take a moment to preface that these examples that I showed you today are just really scratching the surface in terms of what the API can do. Um, you're not limited to just content items or just accounts. You can programmatically run reports. Each of our exportable CSV reports are available as an endpoint. And you can pass in the date range that you're interested in to programmatically or automatically generate these reports. You can create licenses. You can create entire accounts. Again, you can ingest content items into your library, lots of different things. So that's really typically it in terms of what I was going to show you today. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Michael here, just to see if, excuse me, I had any of what I talked about had raised any questions. Michael, do we have any questions that have popped in from the chat?
I got a couple behind the scenes. Let's see. So first one we've got is I noticed there don't seem to be any endpoints to delete content or accounts. Can I delete these things with the API?
Oh yeah, that's a good question, and that's one we get from time to time. Yeah, we don't surface, and this is sort of on purpose. We don't surface a lot of outright delete endpoints. And the reason for that is if you're running a script like I just was, and maybe you have a bug in your script, and you're heavily utilizing those deletion endpoints, maybe for some monthly or quarterly cleanup that you have to do. We don't surface these in the API to guard against examples in the UI, and you may have seen us kind of refer to this fact from time to time too. We give you a couple of different hoops to jump through if you actually want to delete content outright. And the reason for that is, deleting content has its own kind of set of, it'll make it unavailable to any learners that might have it. It'll remove records of that course from any reports that you have. So if you're deleting something, we like to make sure you're as sure as possible that you want to ultimately delete that thing. So surfacing it through the API could present a potential hazard for folks. So we chose to leave some of those certain deletion endpoints out. Um, that being said, I do believe we have maybe either it's a put or a post request where you can deactivate content programmatically. So you could loop through maybe a folder of certain courses that you have that are outdated and deactivate them. But we don't let you automatically go ahead and delete that. Great question. Anything else?
Yeah. So Natalie in the chat says, I use tagging a lot for each of my courses. Can I use an API to apply a tag upon upload of a file into CC or a tag upon sharing with accounts?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Um, so I don't know, and actually, let's dig a little bit into this one. Um, on import, I'm not sure if we allow you to apply a tag to a course as you're importing it. You may need to hit a separate endpoint to basically take that course ID that you just imported and then make an adjustment to it where you can add tags. So the short answer to that question is yes, you can absolutely apply tags to a content item. It just may take a couple of requests to do so. So if let me actually try to find the upload endpoint. Bear with me here. Import a new course from an uploaded file. Actually, I may have just lied to you. Here's tags. Um, if you send a tag parameter, I believe it's a CSV or comma separated list of tags. Um, yeah, you can absolutely apply tags to content on its way into your library. And so yeah, here's the path option that I was talking about earlier. So if you've got a folder that already exists in your content library and you want to add content to it, you would just specify what that is under the path tag or the path parameter. Tags is another one of those. You don't have to include one, but you certainly can. And Natalie, if you'd like me to try to come up with an example of that, um, just to see what that looks like, I can certainly help with that. And then,
Natalie said right on, by the way.
oh yeah, cool, cool, yeah,
Let's see. I had another one that kind of came behind the scenes, and we'll do this one. Natalie says that would be sick. I'll get with you.
okay,
Love it.
cool, awesome.
So question is, am I able to dispatch a whole folder at the same time?
Oh, okay, so we're talking about a zip of zips here. Sweet. So yeah, let me just kind of navigate back to, let's try to find an account that's got a folder. Here's an archive folder. So the UI allows you to, and you may be very well familiar with this and already doing it. Select a folder and then click on share and choose your standard. And this will generate what we call a zip of zips. So that's a parent zip package that has all of the folder's contents within it as a sub zip package. So let's say archive has 5 courses, you'll get a parent folder. I believe the way we name that file is through the date and then the account that it came from. And then inside it are all of your dispatch packages. So those 5 dispatch packages would be sub zip files in there. You can't actually do this. You can't do this. I want to select this folder and create a zip of zips for it through the API. But my demo earlier kind of hinted at the ability to sort of create your own structure and naming convention for how you want to name those dispatch packages. So again, if I were to just dispatch this, let's actually go ahead and do that really quick. I'm going to download the SCORM package. So you can see it's basketball. There's the account name and there's the standard.zip. When I was doing this earlier, if I open up this dispatch packages uh, folder, I actually designated, my script designated a folder that it wanted the content to go to. And then it placed the dispatch packages in that folder with, actually the script actually sends a GET request to get the content name of what I'm working with. And it takes that content name and saves it. And then it tells the endpoint, okay, when I create this dispatch package, this is what I want to name it. So this is just called, it's a more simplified version. So basketball.zip instead of basketball-000.API account one. And so the the short answer to that is no, you can't really access a folder to create a zip of zips. But the long answer is if you've got a list of course IDs in your account that you're interested in, you can iterate through those and create a dispatch package one by one and essentially do the same thing. It just might take a few more calls to do so. But that's a great question.
Nice, good answer. Um, I think that's about done it. I don't got anything else in the chat, so I think we can wrap it up.
Cool. Yeah,
Uh,
that works out. It looks like we're right at time. Once again, thanks everybody. I hope this helps or maybe even inspired a few ideas. And we'll be keeping our ear to the ground too, because like I said earlier, kind of at the top, this is a topic that I get excited about. The API is a powerful tool that can help you do lots of these things. And if you need help getting started with it, we've got a number of helpful resources, and I'm always happy to join you on a call or um, through a support ticket to work through some of these challenges and ways the API might be able to help you.